first of all, I want to say that I'm really glad to be here. It's a big opportunity for me and also a big experience. So, here we go. Going tourism survey. In our university, we made a big research. We have some questionnaires. We researched tourism in the tourist segment. So here you can say that here you can see that the tourists and also Mr. Shopper is filling our questionnaires. That we also take part in our survey. So the first, I must point out that the research we have consulted is one of the main components of our research. And the main goal of our field research is to collect all primary data for market segmentation and tourism product differentiation. Develop a profile of existing foreign visitors, find out the main fields of interest in foreign visitors, determine the characteristics and behavior of international travel visits to Kutaisi, evaluate the satisfaction level, identify visiting problems, and elaborate corresponding recommendation for Kutaisi City Hall. The last one is also very, very important. So, we had three main waves in our field research. The first one was in winter. Then I interviewed more than 100 tourists in the spring, in May, and also in summer, in the beginning of August. So we can say that these questionnaires were about 3-4 pages. This takes about 20 minutes to fill these questionnaires, and we used a face-to-face system to fill these questionnaires. So in the winter wave, here you can see. So these are the main share of the citizens of the European Union countries and also non-European Union countries, which we can see. In the three waves together, Poland has the biggest share. It's because of in Kutaisi there is a airport, and for these 2 years they started to have a direct flights from Warsaw and Krakow as well. So it's really good for our city, and also it's helping us to have more and more tourists and visitors. Also, the direct flights from Vilnius also helped our city to have more visitors as well. So these are our research took part in the main destinations. So in Kutaisi it was Prometheus Cave, Sataplia Cave, Bagration, Mozameta, and Gelati monasteries, and also we made this kind of research in airport as well. So here is a Prometheus Cave. There is a number how many people visited, and just 30% of these visitors were tourists. And here you can see the share, how many tourists, which has the biggest amount of tourists in this destination. From the Baltic states, I can say that the biggest share was from Lithuania. Approximately the same situation we have in Sataplia Cave, and I can say that Sataplia is one of the most beautiful and also most interesting attraction in Kutaisi as well. And here even you can see the footsteps of dinosaurs, and so it's really so age group in the genders. So in this picture there are shares how many tourists we had. We had interviewed more than 1,000 tourists in these three waves together. You can see from the picture and from the diagram that the biggest share had the tourists under between age 25 and 34, and the most popular season for them it was the winter. The share was more than 42%. So here is also the number of the gender share. We had more women than more men than women, but in the most popular age group, it was approximately the same, 15 of you. So identification, tourism, social economic profile. We can say that Kutaisi is say most the same interesting as for married and unmarried tourists, and also it's really good that in Kutaisi they are coming more educated people, more educated tourists we have, because as you see the master's degree tourists are at the biggest share in our research. So we had also the questions is it the first time of visiting Kutaisi? Just 8% of tourists said that it's the first time of visiting Kutaisi, but 2 times more were the people which have been in Georgia, but it was the first time, but not in Kutaisi also. We say that the people which were coming in Kutaisi or in Georgia in the more than second time, they were mostly from our neighbor countries, but the people, the tourists from Eastern European countries and Central European countries, they were just first-time visitors in Georgia. Okay, and also how did you reach to Georgia? It was also from Kutaisi airport, Tbilisi airport, also then by transport. Mostly the visitors from Turkey and from Russia, they are coming by cars. But of course, the visitors from Eastern European countries, they are coming by plane in Tbilisi and in Kutaisi. As you see in the first wave, which took part in the August, the biggest share is coming in the Kutaisi airport. So we can say that we can say that it's because of that that in winter there is no such kind of trips in Eastern Europe, in Western Europe, Western Georgia, because the people which are coming to see the whole Georgia in winter, they are coming just in Tbilisi and in Eastern to see Eastern Georgia, Tbilisi, Kakheti, and also Eastern Georgian mountains. And the TripAdvisor doesn't give them the opportunity, or they don't tell them to come in to see the price as well. And it was also in the first slide that in winter we just interviewed more than 100. It was 102 visitors that we interviewed. Okay? So mostly they are coming. The people are coming from with their families. Okay, the main source of visiting Kutaisi and the main source that they introduced this Kutaisi, it was by the internet, but the interesting thing is that they did not see the main Kutaisi City Hall site. They had information from Booking.com, TripAdvisor, and also from other sources, but not from the main website of Kutaisi. And also word of mouth is really has a big importance. And this is really good that local advisors, they get about 47%, and we can say that the locals, so we are also getting the tourists, and we are helping also with our country to get more tourists as well. Average length of stay in Kutaisi in the first wave. As you can see, they are about approximately 4 days they have been staying in Kutaisi. But in the summer, at the August, they stay just 2 days in Kutaisi. We can say that It's because of that people, the tourists in summer, they mostly want to go in the seaside, which are coming from the Eastern Europe to Eastern Georgia to see the Western Georgia. They just mostly like to see the seaside and also some other places, but not to see such as cultural attractions. Okay. The mostly in Kutaisi they are coming for the holiday measure and other frequently observed purposes, including friends and relatives. You can see why they are coming, and just for this is very bad that for the education, Kutaisi they are coming just 0.3 tourists. So here we can say that we don't have a math teacher, but it's not like this because they had the opportunity to fill not just one answer. Because for example, if someone is coming for exploring nature, they also can taste wine as well. So here you can see what they've been doing in Georgia, but. This is also very interesting that there was not such kind of, I would say, sorry. We cannot. There is not such kind of local. They don't want to see the local culture and folklore. But as the region Kutaisi and also Georgia is the region that there is in every corner there is some folklore, some dancing, playing. Some traditional foods, and I would suggest for them just to come here to see what is the real Georgia. I mean, because the real Georgia is not just the buildings or seaside. The real Georgia is in folklore and in drinks as well. And that's why we need to sell our hospitality. And as we can see, it's not like this in this research. Then. The accommodation used by tourists, from the diagram you can see that mostly they are using guest house and hotels, and more deeply about this we'll have a presentation by friend Lika, and it will be later. Okay. We had also customer satisfaction questionnaires also, some questions in these questionnaires. In the red, you can see that the people who've been, let's say, upset for the pricing style in Georgia, because just not even less than 2% said that Georgia is an expensive country, and that's true, to be honest. This course is, you can see from the schedule as well, that very cheap is 5, cheap is 4, good 3, 2, and expensive 1. And here is the average number, how many points they get. The restaurants, as you can see from the diagram, they are quite cheap as like a local transport and the tourist attraction and accommodation. Everything is cheap in Georgia, but we had some problems about local transporting because when the tourists are coming in Georgia, they don't know how to get to the different places because there is not any, let's say, signs or something like this that you can for the tourists. Even for me, it's not really easy to go in Tbilisi because I don't know Tbilisi very well. It's a big city, and I will just easily get lost there. Okay, then next. So this was quite hard for us to know how, let's say, to calculate how much they're spending day by day. But as from the prices, so in the guest houses and also from the wine, because if someone is coming to Kutaisi, they should buy wine as well or taste some food. That's why it was approximately $51 per person per day. Here, in the down you can see this is the numbers from Georgian National tourist administration numbers and points. And here we can see that the average day that they are spending in Kutaisi and in Georgia is just 4.3, but in our research it was more than 8.3. And this is because of that in Georgia there are more, I would say, too much transit visitors. They are coming from Turkey going to Azerbaijan, and also they are coming from Russia and going to Armenia. You know, and because this is quite good for Georgia. It's really good because they are spending their money there in Georgia. But from the research, we can say that 4 days to spend in Georgia is is nothing. You cannot see anything, any attractions in 4 days. But this is because of. I want to say that these numbers is just because of that. Because if you are coming in Georgia to see everything, you just nearly need more than 2 weeks. So. Right. So customer satisfaction level. We had, as I said, in questionnaires there were some questions. For example, how you will evaluate the working of the information centers in Kutaisi. And the main problem in Kutaisi there is availability of public toilets in these places, and also service in Kutaisi airport. And tourism information center. What about service at Kutaisi Airport? Firstly, in Kutaisi Airport, everything is fine, everything is good, but the main problem is that there is no such kind of direct transport to go from Kutaisi city center to the airport, because it's more than 20 kilometers away, and that's why it's kind of a problem. And also, this airport is quite small, and for example, if you need to change your planes, when you are there for just 2 or 3 hours, you will just sit and you will not do anything, because there is no such kind of, because it's too small. That's why. Then, so the conclusions. So I will read. The main type of tourism in Kutaisi area is natural cultural heritage tourism, and developing wine tourism in Imereti region, despite the increasing demand for tasting local wines, lack of innovation in demonstrate Georgian culture and folklore, and sell the real Georgian hospitality experience. That's what I was talking about. Short length of a visit, maximum 2 days. Yes, in Kutaisi you just need 2 days to see everything, and these 2 days is quite enough. Then, especially if it's summer, to go in seaside, you will see everything. So we need more massive attraction like Baghrati or like the other cathedrals, or maybe some other attractions that will help attract more tourists. Then low share of repeat visitors, it was just 8%, and less of 1/4 of tourism will definitely visit Kutaisi again. There was so here we had also the question: would you see the Kutaisi again, or will you come back here? About 51% say that they will probably visit Kutaisi again, and just 23% said that they will definitely come back. And the best it is that 99% said that they will also recommend to see Georgia and Kutaisi to their friends. So word of mouth, as I said, told it was 30% that they are coming in Kutaisi. So this is also very, very important for us. And developed infrastructure and public services, influence number of public toilets, no transport option from airport to city center, as I told it, poor sanitation in general, cleanness at some places, influence number of tourist information standards, and so on. This is the main problems and main conclusions that we get from our survey. Thank you for attention. Do you have any questions?
Excellent. from Georgia and from Kutaisi. The data seems to reflect a lot of what I also realized when I was there, so now I know there's data behind it to support it. I love the fact that you also took time to interpret what this data means. That we have a lot, but they are transit. That's important to know. So, all in all, I think that was a very, very comprehensive, well-informed presentation. You worked well with the data. You presented the data excellent and gave everyone, I think, a very good overview about what's happening. The question is, what does this mean for Georgia? If I try to summarize everything, it seems to me that Georgia is a very, very interesting holiday product. We know this, and everyone that's been to Georgia has experienced the hospitality and the cuisine and the culture and everything. It seems to me like a very nice product looking for a customer. So the only thing I can say about this, and the only thing I could add, is that this is very, let's say, supply-based focus. You're focusing on what you offer. It would be very interesting to focus on to whom you would offer this, and what would they think about it. So a bit more research to complement this would be on the target market. Who do we want to have in the long term? Because if you're telling me 2.3 days transit, you want to increase the time people stay there. Who would be liable to stay there? For example, people that like wine or whatever. Yeah? It would be interesting to get more information on those target groups to be able to complement this very comprehensive piece of research that you do. And also it would be interesting to repeat the same study over and over again in order to see it over time. So in short, I think it was a very comprehensive thing. You performed it very well. The data is easy to understand. It's easy to follow. The only thing that could be missing or could be used to improve this would be to add research on target markets or segments.
I just add that maybe you don't need new attractions, as you said at the end, but you need tourism products. As Alexis said,
it was just
specialized
my opinion, because, for example, if you have, it is more attraction you have in your country, as more tourists are coming. So, or as more, I would say, they stay there and even more fun. Because it's really it's also, as in the previous presentation, Wangel told it, in Georgia it's kind of quite hard to have a nightlife, good nightlife. Because especially in Kutaisi, it's not like this. You cannot have a real good time before coming with your friends at this point.
But for nightlife, they can go to Tbilisi?
From Kutaisi to Tbilisi, yeah.
Well, then maybe those are the customers that you want.
Yes.
But why? So that's why we need that they don't, that they will not have to go there after this if you will have such kind of in Georgia.
You want to specialize, maybe Kutaisi on different segment than Tbilisi and then Batumi.
Yeah, Batumi is of course different.
Each town is
You cannot be everything for everyone.
Yeah, sure.
Then you will lose this advantage you said that real product, nightlife, real Kutaisi.
Nightlife is not even really
So
true.
you will sell it then like real product.
Yes, maybe that's a point where I can link my recommendation or feedback to you. First, I want to say I had a very good impression too. You stated research questions, the methodology was very comprehensive, and the results are clear, transparent, and your conclusions I could follow very well too. One point concerning the goals. If I remember that right, you promised market segmentation. So you got a very informative and interesting profile of the Kutaisi visitors in general. But maybe in further steps you could look at this point, how can these whole sample be divided up or differentiated concerning different groups, types of visitors. We have different expectations, different behavior, and so on. I think this would be the consequent step now for the market segmentation. Did you think about that for it? Did you have plans for that? Okay.
It could be the next project. It also fits a lot with this because you put a lot of emphasis on internet, on the existing customers. Where do they get information? If I remember your scores,
Yeah.
the first information was low.
Yeah, but it was low. Yeah.
Now combine the three things. You have tourist information they're not satisfied with.
Yeah.
Then you have that most of them get information from the internet.
Yeah,
And the question is, who's your target market?
Yes,
That will
that's
show you
what-
the strategy, where in the internet you should put this information.
And that's why even our university had a new project, is digital marketing, and we are working about this as well. And also we need to give this kind of marketing plan to the government of Kutaisi.
Don't forget the customer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I have to look, I'm not sure.
Hi everyone, my name is Lika Savkwadze. I'm a student at Kutaisi University. And my presentation is about customer satisfaction survey in Kutaisi Hotel. Firstly, I want to say that when we started, we wanted to find information about customer satisfaction. We discovered that this searching was first, and we wanted to compare our searching to all the informations, but haven't been done in previous years. Yes, so next. So the main goal is to assess current level of hotel service quality for imitating service quality standardization at local level, and the objectives are to investigate operational performance of local hotels, measure current level of customer satisfaction, identify service quality gaps, and elaborate appropriate recommendations. Next, please. And methodology, or what we used. Our information sources was Kutaisi City Hall. From there we took information about hotels list and the price ranges. Then was Georgian National Tourism Administration. From there we took information from how many student tourists come into Emirati region, and about inbound tourism survey field research was presented by my student Mamuka Sarvashvili. And finally we selected hotels. About the instruments, we used face-to-face contact with hotel managers and hotel guests, and finally filled the questionnaire. Then we tried to collect this information when was check-out time, when the guests for tourists was more convenient check-out time and the sitting on the bus. Interview we had at least 2 different groups in each hotel. And finally, we made an analysis, Excel software, and interpretation of face-to-face interviews and guest comments. Next, please. Our questionnaire included 26 questions. Was easy to fill and need about 3 or 4 minutes. And tourists were more motivated to fill it. 2 questions was about hotel selection and reservation. 2 questions about check-in and check-out, how easily was. 4 questions about room comfort and supplies, 4 questions about personal behavior and skillfulness, 2 questions reason to complain or to price if they have some reason about it, and 5 questions about feelings, their expectations, about money, and 1 question general quality of this hotel, and 6 questions about guest profile, or their citizenship, age, and other excess. So this is the same to our questionnaire. Next one, please. Now about hospitality sector. Kutaisi's population is about 1,097. Yes, next please. And tourists come here for churches, to visit churches, our nature, sightseeing, caves. Next. And from Georgian Tourist Administration, we took information that in the Emirati region, in the last 6 months of this year, were 12,700 foreign visitors. And there are, as we understand, there are in Kutaisi 21 hotels, 14 guest houses and 48 hostels. But in totally guest house bed capacity is about 1,240. Next, Mamka. We tried to define between hotels, guest houses and hostels, but they are not clearly definition, but we tried it. Hotels contain more than 10 rooms, is usually built by special design and mostly with tour operators. Price range is about 50 or 150 laris per person, and they have contact with tourist agencies, with partners. Group tourists about 80%. And for guest houses, number of rooms is less than 10. Private houses adjusted to guest house business, and price range is about 50, 80 lari per person. And hostels, number of rooms are not more than 6 or 8, and offering only 1 night stay without breakfast. Number of hostels has increased during the last 2 years, and price range is about 20 or 30 gyal per person. This is for individual tourists and mini groups, about 2 or 4 persons. Next. We selected hotels, 10 hotels firstly, but 3 hotels manager refused, and I don't know, maybe they were afraid. So the first was Bagrati Hotel, next Hotel Beka, Hotel Discovery, Hotel Cheuli, Hotel Gora, Argo, and the Old City. Next. When we selected hotel, we saw some differences, considerable differences between number of rooms and number of personnel. As we see in Gora, have 40 rooms and 8 member of personnel, and for example, Argo Palace has 30 rooms and 14 members of personnel. This is very big differences between this. We try to understand the main partner to operators, their leaders, Mercury, Georgian Holiday, Caucasus Travel. In Argo Palace is Tamada Tour, Visit Georgia, and Beka, again Visit Georgia, and in Old City, they don't have contact with tour operator because this hotel is for individual tours, 2 or 3 persons. In Bagrati, Caucasus Travel, Concord Travel, and Nest Travel, and Cheuli, Visit Georgia, Caucasus Travel, and in Gora, Georgia Tour. Next. the amount guests was 102, and we made their profile. From citizenship was leader guests from Germany, from Italy, and other West European countries contain Netherlands, Britain, and Swiss people. It was very interesting to communicate with them because German people toward about questionnaire was very strictly, and they were more organized to fill it. And Italian people like to face-to-face contact and share their opinions. Was very interesting contact with them, and this is about age group, and gender about was 50-50. Nice definition. Yes, and citizenship from hotels you can see on this slide. Next, please. Yes. We try to understand the selection and reservation, and from tourist group made select and reserve from travel agencies was about 56%. 10% made their selection and reservation from positive comments on Booking.com and satisfactory previous visits. And 9% from recommendations, and good locations, 22%. And this four group made their reserve from directly to this hotel and through Booking.com, and another through this hotel travel agencies. Next, please. Hotels managers tried that checkout and check-in was more convenient for tourists because they were group, big amount of people, and they wanted to make a checkout in the morning because then they went to the mountains and other places. And it was very convenient for them. But they had complaints and suggestions. Was lack of signs, indicators, and notes in English. There were not promotional and info materials in the reception area, and the reception needs improvement in design. Next. About rooms, about cleaning situation, comfortable and properly supplied upon every wall, about bed linen and lighting and plumbing in the room comfortable. There's their point. We made the average score, and overall their main complaints was lack of amenities. For example, wardrobe hangers in some rooms were not available to television, and in some rooms were slow internet. And the main impressions was some tourists liked lightly decorated rooms, beautiful views from hillside hotels, especially from hillsides, and not which were in city center. Next. About personnel, they say that they were more friendly, but they were not professionally, because they think so that they were more noisy, and they had problem for this. And the common complaints was low knowledge of English, personnel did not wear uniforms. At the same hotels, there were obvious differences between staff members' service skills, and main impression was staff members tried their best to comfort guests. So they thought that they were more and more friendly. but they're meeting expectation how they feel good in this hotel. This is average score on there. Again, the slow internet, there was their complaints, but main impressions was low price in some hotels and hospitality cases in some hotels. About prices, when tourists make a reservation by through the travel agency, don't know about prices, but in these hotels was price range on the wall. Next. This is the summary results. And final conclusion, supply bed capacity exceeds the demand over capacity. The average satisfaction scores are high due to short staying period of guests, lack of value-added service due to sufficient level of satisfaction. I mean that we're not, for example, washing service or mini bars, and friendly but unskilled personnel in most hotels. And finally, we have recommendation. The City Hall ought to introduce some basic criteria for categorizing type of accommodations in Kutaisi. Hotel personnel needs to be trained in hotel service, and local basic standards manual on hotel services should be designed and disseminated to hotel managers, owners. And Kutaisi University can offer these results to Kutaisi City Hall or local governments. Finally, I'm ready for your recommendations and questions. Thank you very much.
So, once more, well done. I really like that you give us the goals and the organizational frame, that you say what's the methodology, what are the goals, and so on. So, very, very well done. I want to give you perhaps 3 hints, which is not only your problem, but also, let's say, also for the other students when they design a questionnaire. So, can you just give me the slide concerning your questions in the beginning? You have made a slide in the beginning.
The same?
And one before.
One before.
Yeah. So I recommend for you and for the future, it's very important to cluster the questions. So for example, if you say, okay, how do I start to design this questionnaire? For example, you take the decision, I want to have a view out of the process. And I say, okay, but then we start with the check-in. And then I recommend to you to follow and to continue the process and not to change the view. Suddenly you are in the room, then in the personal behavior, and so on and so on. If you continue, I show you something. If you show me the slide with the hotels, the evaluation with the hotels, with the results.
Final results?
Yeah, you also can show me the final results. So what happens now is, we call it if we speak with our students, we say you are producing a sort of data symmetry. Because if you look, for example, to the room, question number 1 is, the result is 3 point, 3 point, 3 point, 3 point.
Yes, we made an average between.
Result. And exactly here you have made the fault. In my, or not the fault, but for the future, what's important for the guest? It's not important for the guest, as for me, to check out. We know that, for example, as for the guest, it's very important how is the room, how is the breakfast, how clean, and so on. So you didn't remark what's really important for the guest. And Alexis said, don't forget the customer. So in my opinion, it's more important to stress special questions and to deepen it. If you ask, for example, question 1, was it clean, comfortable, and probably supplied upon arrival. You ask 3 questions in 1 question. And so you produce a mix. And so in the end of the discussion, you produce a mix. So what I want to recommend you at the end is, first of all, at the moment you are designing the questionnaire, you have to decide how to do it. You are looking, for example, in a process, or you are looking into the departments, and then you are creating it. If you are doing it like this, you are producing a mixture. And at the end of the day, at the end of the story, you say, okay, we have 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. And I ask you, and what's now going on? Yeah, have I understood?
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
But, and so the average score is a problem. And if you say, for example, okay, we know that as for the guest view, breakfast is important. I didn't see breakfast. For example, it's much more important than check-out. And so then in the beginning, the next time you can say, okay, we know that the room, the cleanliness, the bath, and the breakfast is important. And so we stress this question. Sometimes in Germany you have questionnaires which are just like this. They say, dear guest, what was the most important, or what did you like most in our hotel? Question number 2, what was awful? What was the worst thing in our hotel? And question number 3 is, what do you recommend? 3 questions, and I'm as general manager, I'm not clever. I know, okay, this is the main problem, this is the best thing we are doing, and it gives us the recommendation. So the next time, if you start in taking more inputs in the design, it will be still better than this one. But nevertheless, well done. I really like it.
Yes, I had that also a very positive impression of your presentation. It was quite clear what you wanted to do, which are the questions you wanted to answer. Methodology was very clear. You showed in a very transparent way how your questionnaire is structured, what kind of answer scales you used. That was perfect, I think. And another thing I think was good because you combined different sources of data. Good. Some little questions only. Why didn't you ask in hostels, in guest houses too? Is it that just the start of the research you made here, or why did you? It's too big because first you describe their profile, and then the survey questionnaire wasn't applied there.
When we will arrive in tasting, we want to make research in guest houses and in hostels in September. Yes, this is from hotels, in big hotels, which is in tasting.
And you also mentioned that you interviewed the hotel managers, but at the end you didn't talk about the results of those data. Maybe this would complete the picture a little bit more. In this research, we had not clearly we had not contact with managers, but only asked them about their hotels or researches. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. I thought that there was a point that you interviewed the manager too.
Okay. In future,
and a little hint furthermore, when you present the results of the questionnaire, you should maybe you show the results of the question chart. Yes, this one. You should present the scale definition again. I know you showed it when you introduced the questionnaire, but after a while you forget how it is structured, and then you can better interpret these numbers here when you look at the chart.
Okay, thank you very much.
trying to also integrate what I've seen so far. In comparison to what I saw half a year ago, I think all the teams here have had an enormous progress. It's no comparison. I mean, I see significant progress, and for that I want to congratulate not just you, but everyone who's presented so far. I think the next thing to look at is to actually make a better utilization of statistics. Currently what you do is you use descriptive statistics. You just describe a sample. The interesting thing is, to what extent can I generalize on the basis of a sample? That's the essence of statistics. Because currently when you do a survey, what you have is a snapshot of a particular sample at a particular point of time. Can you generalize it? Can you say, for example, based on the research that you do, that, I don't know, that with a certain certainty, all the tourists that stay in hotels are fairly comfortable with the room? Can you say this for everyone?
Talking about comfortable?
I'm just taking a question. Well, we have small. Yeah, so you're saying here, how comfortable when you bed living? Yeah. Can you say this for, can you generalize those results for everyone that sleeps in hotels and place?
No.
You can. You can if you utilize statistics. So my recommendation for everyone is to become a bit more slowly and learn how to utilize statistics to generalize, because this is the whole value of statistics. Statistics allow us to generalize without having to ask everyone. For example, if we were all the same, we were clones of one another, then if I would ask you something, I would say that what applies for you applies for everyone. So I ask you just one. The more different we are, the more people we need to ask in general. So as I said, my recommendation, I can repeat this again and again, is try to familiarize yourself with probability and inferential statistics, not just descriptive statistics. Because this is where the real value is. That's all I wanted to say first.
Thank you.
Спасибо большое студентам Буддаистского университета. Сейчас приглашаются студенты Батумской морской академии с презентацией своих полевых исследований.
We are ready. We want to greet with you. We are very glad that you are members of this project. We are students of Batumi State Maritime Academy, Tamar Chengeli and Mariam Beritze. First of all, we want to say shortly about Georgia and our region. Georgia is located at the crossroads of Western Asia and Eastern Europe and is bounded to the west by the Black Sea, to the north by Russia, to the south by Turkey and Armenia, and to the southeast by Azerbaijan. Its population is about 4 million. 4 million. Ajar region plays an important role in development country's economy. The region has a population of about 337,000. Batumi is its administrative center, and there is more than half population of the region. This diagram shows how was increased international tourist receipt. In 2014, it was increased by 4% compared with 2013, but compared with 2007, it was increased by 79%. International arrivals to Georgia have been growing rapidly over recent years. In 2014, this reached the record number, about 5.5 million, representing annual growth 2%. The highest growth rate was in 2012, when the number of international arrivals increased by 57%. Here are written our main goals, main tasks of the research, and you can see in your files that our research targets were cultural establishments, entertainment places, historical monuments, and museums. Here are written methodologies which we used in this research, and you can see links and sources of information. Our research includes 4 main steps. On the first, we researched general study of problems of tourist market development in Batumi. On the second step, we started deep research of main facilities of tourist market in Ajara. On the third step, summer school researches were held, and at the last step, we prepared final report. Results. One of the destinations which is important in order to attract tourists are restaurants. There are about 40 important restaurants in Batumi, about 70 restaurants in Kobuleti. As for the other municipalities, there are a number of restaurants, but this number is not so obvious. These are some photos of restaurants in Batumi. Here are charts where you can see that there is the same question with different results. Tourists think that our region needs improvement in the competency of the personnel employed in tourism. Next chart shows that in our region is a serious problem with foreign languages. Tourists who visited Georgia secondly think that the main problem for them is language barrier. The percentage of foreign language increased in last researches. The level of foreign languages are not changed. Here is the result of excellent assessment of main restaurants, which we did according to the recommendation of Ludmila Smartova. The result shows that none of the restaurants have signs on windows welcoming tourists. The opening and closing times are not posted and followed, while cleanliness inside and outside the restaurant is satisfying. There are problems in restaurants which we found by research. Cleanliness-related problems, recycled bins, trash cans and ashtrays, non-smoking area. Restaurants are not accessible for the people with disability and aged people. Ambience and seating are not enough comfortable. Low foreign language competence of personnel employed in the tourist sphere. Next destination of our study were museums. Fortunately, Ajara don't suffer from the lack of museums. There are plenty of them in Ajara. Here you can see a complete list of museums with addresses. Most of them are out of the town. All contacts of museums are available in internet. The problem is the absence of guides speaking foreign languages. Here is the result of external assessment of main museums, and the result was that in museums there are lack of tourists despite the fact that price is very low. The museums are not accessible for handicapped and aged people. Besides it, there are these problems in museums. They are not plagues or illegal signs. they are not recycled by bins outside or inside historical site.
I will talk about tourist agencies. A large part of tourism development in Georgia includes tourism companies. Therefore, the target of our research are tourist agencies. Our research shows that in Adjara region there are approximately 40 tourist agencies. They offer well-organized individual services. This is the list of tourist agencies. Tourist agencies offer different types of services. For example, tours in Adjara, tours in Batumi, rental car. The problem which found related with tourist agencies. First, the problem of non-existence of competent staff in tourist agencies. Limited information about tourist industry in Georgia, weak advertisement and PR among the foreign tourists, less connection with other agencies in the country and international tourist operators. Our region has a great potential of cruise tourism development. The number of cruise ships entering Batumi port is increasing nowadays. Travel agencies which offer cruise services. This is AB Visit Adjara and Adjara Tour. Adjara Tour has started to provide shore excursions to cruise ships since 2009. In 2013, with Infloat Worldwide company, they have provided shore excursions to 12 out of 16 cruise ships, which arrived at the port of Batumi. Over the year, Adjara Tour Over the years, Adjara Tour has created a team of qualified and specialized guides which have grown professional and gained knowledge from theoretical and practical trainings. But there is still a problem of no availability other than English-speaking guides. Problems which exist in cruise tourism. Lack of cruise tourism agencies, lack of information about the city of tourists in Batumi port. Adjara Tourism Department pays less attention to the cruise tourists. Batumi port is not often used among Black Sea routes. No availability of big number of qualified guides for providing the best service of big cruise ships. Limited use of tourism services for cruise tourists. At the last, the main problems that were identified on the basis of our research. First, the low competence of personnel to stakeholders, people who are interested and connected to solving this problem. Tourist agencies, tourism department, tourist facilities, regional competence center of cruise tourism. And recommendations to work out special training programs, to provide motivational programs for the development of competence of staff, supporting incentives in fields of personal trainings by government. The second problem, lack of special infrastructure for disabled and aged people. Stakeholders, owners of entertainment and tourist sites, government, tourist society. Recommendations to improve the infrastructure for disabled and aged people, to prepare special tourist maps for disabled people, to work out special tourist destinations for this category of tourists. Third, lack of state standards in tourism sphere. Stakeholders, restaurants, tourist facilities, recommendations to conduct fundamental research aimed to create national standards in tourism sphere, to implement the recommendations created in the framework of seminars, roundtables and student summer school, to create hotels and restaurant standards on the level of legislation, study of the tourist product demand, to provide clear policy for the And at last, non-compliance of sanitary conditions. Stakeholders, City Hall, Tourism Department, Tourist Society, recommendations to create standards for public toilets regulating, to develop more non-smoking area, to create recycle bins near the tourist facilities, cleanest monitoring of tourist places. Thanks for your attention.
We are ready for questions. We have not think about it, but we will think it. Thanks for the question.
Thank you for the presentation. I think it was well structured and follow pretty good. You spoke a little bit fast in the beginning, so some slides changed very fast, but I think I have got the most. I think that there are good goals and questions, but they are a little bit broad. You try to answer almost all the questions are in this field relevant. So in the next step, I think it's a good problem description you raised here. But in the next step, maybe you should focus a little bit more on different topics and work them out and more differentiated and focus on questions concerning this different topic, like restaurant quality, service quality. Most of the things are just ticked. So you did find out some problems. It's not always clear how you came to the problem definition of determination. So you have to make that clear a little bit more too. But in the next step, try to focus a little bit more. Thank you.
Thanks. We will take it into consideration. We are Batum State Maritime Academy, the Business and Management faculty. My name is I am Tiabashte and my friend is Baya Koroshvili. Research of major tourism, infrastructure, conditions and potential. One of the most important parts of Georgia is Adjara regions, which occupies about 4.6% of territory of our country. Tourism is one of the priority sectors in Adjara with its high potential in the economy, 43% of the total investment. The main conditions in tourist market of Adjara are intensive development of the region as all year round tourist destination. No license for operating a company in the tourism sector. No variety of the revenue received from incoming tourists. The main goals and tasks of our research are presented in your files. The object of the research represents transport infrastructure, which includes roads, customs, airports, and seaport accommodation infrastructure, which includes hotels, and homestays. The main methodology and sources which we used in our research are presented in your files. The study was carried out in 4 stages. In the first in April 2040 years, the second stage, third and fourth one in April, July and August 2015 years. This research presented analysis of the problems in tourist sphere. Special attention was paid to the detection of problems in transport and accommodation field, elaborate competence. At the initial stage, we will take about transport and later accommodation infrastructure. We will start from the fact that according to the border type, the most income is made the 86% by land, 12% by the air, and 1% from the rollers and sea. Therefore, we will start our presentation with the road infrastructure. Roads to make Georgia to make European standards is one of the main challenges. $2 billion has been spent for the development of road infrastructure in the last 4 years. The vehicles which can enter Georgia are train bus, taxi, minibus. Entering ways are the main entrance via Kovalati and the second via Koterzi. The diagram represents the result of our survey, according to which 50% of surveyed tourists think that the competence of employees in transport sector need improvement, while for 15% it is acceptable. While another survey shows that the competence of employees in transport sector is acceptable for 41%, but for 6% it needs improvement. And now we will present the second object of our research effort, which is located near Batum. There is also available bus and taxi to get to the city. The diagram represents the flight and the number of passengers in the last 5 years in the Batumi airport, and according to this, the number of flights was 1599 years in 2040 years, and the number of passengers was more than 200,000 persons. Now concerning to the transport, Batumi Seaport is one of the ports among 16 cruise ports on the Black Sea. The number of passengers who entered by sea transport is 16,000 in 2014 years. According to the date, 5 cruise ships entered Batumi in 2015 years, that is less than previous years. The results of the research of cruise tourism shows that 60% of tourists think that cruise tourism results of research of cruise tourism shows that 60% of tourists think that cruise tourism development is perspective in Georgia. According to the second survey, 63% think the same. According to the research which has been done in Estonia, in August of the 15 years by the Batumi State Maritime Academy students during practice on cruise ships. There are more than 76% of tourists are interested in visiting Georgia. our research is customs. Comfortable and developed infrastructure of the customs gives possibility to passengers to travel quickly and comfortably. According to the date of the customs, it took 30 minutes to check documents is reduced to 5 minutes. This diagram shows a number of passengers transported through Sarpi customs, which according it was 6,000 in 2014. This is the result of the second research, which shows that 27% of tourists think that service is developed after their last visit, and 27% thinks that there is no evident change. The last target of our research was accommodation industry. According to the tourism department of Ajara, in 2015 years, the number of accommodation increased to 292. According to this date, 59% of tourists choose homestays and just 2% hotels. It shows that tourists prefer cheaper accommodations. The research result of accommodation industry, 35% of tourists think that the competency of hotel staff needs improvement, while for 40% it is good. But if we rely on the second survey, it shows that the staff competency is good for 34%, and for 34% it is acceptable. Overall, 49% of tourists say that hotel service is remarkably developed. Now, we will present detailed list of problems of each destination, which you can see in your file. Let's state on the general problems from each destination and our recommendations for them. Problem 1. Lack of the international standards in tourism field. Stakeholders are hotel, road infrastructure, authority, airport, port, and customs. And our recommendations are: international standards should be widely established in tourism industry. Introduction and implementation of work experience and international airlines attraction. Problem 2. High prices. Stakeholders, hotel, transport, airlines, and tourist department. Recommendations: creating favorable conditions for the development of competition in the tourism market. Problem 3. For foreign language skills of personnel employed in tourist sector and low qualification of staff. Stakeholder, state agency responsible for tourism, travel companies, transport companies and drivers, commercial organizations. Recommendations: close cooperation with educational institutions, introduction and implementation of work experience and upgrade of personal qualification. Problem 4. Insufficient attention to the development Black Sea cruise, potential by cruise companies. Stakeholders, Batumi Port, government, tourist companies. Recommendations: improvement of port infrastructure, construction and modernization, innovative project in tourism. And conclusion. Studies have shown that the development of tourism and therefore our economy is moving forward in the field of tourism. It is necessary to improve the competency of staff employed, therefore professional skills and tourism infrastructure. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
I would like to say that it's very nice of you that you were so quick, because you understand that everybody is tired. I like your presentation. You would also improve your marketing. Maybe I just one recommendation for your recommendation. When you are making recommendation, it's hard to say something that, for example, we should implement international standards. First, your research was good for that you can better identify the fields in which you can more focus. So now you can survey international standards, and then you can decide. It's just example with international standards and with other recommendations. Maybe a recommendation for also for other groups, because we saw today a lot of recommendations. So it's I like your presentation. It was very good, just be a little bit more sensitive in this part of your research.
I can also say that I remember your first presentation in Batumi. You have improved dramatically, and the thing is, the more you present, the better you become, and the less nervous you become. I think everyone, when they begin presenting, they always hate it because everyone is watching. The more you do it, the less you can. So keep practicing, and you'll be coming to the content. I've seen parts of it before in Batumi, and I liked it, and you've improved on that as well. And then I can only agree with the recommendation. It's very tempting. It's very tempting to make generic recommendations. To put it differently, you would make the same recommendations even if you didn't do the research. It's very tempting. It's very easy always to make general recommendations. We must improve the infrastructure. You can ask every destination, you can ask every tourism person, the first thing they'll tell you, regardless of which country, must improve the infrastructure. So it's always very good to get more specific. So in a way, I agree a lot with Mila that if you make recommendations, try to be specific, not general.
Yes, I want to point out too that you improved very much in comparison with what we saw in Batumi. The presentation was very well structured, and you made concise statements concerning the goals, the path, the methodology, and the steps of the research, and so on. But as my colleagues already mentioned, it's mainly a general problem description. So comes up the question, who can serve these answers you found out in the community, tourism community. So our recommendation is in the next step we have to focus more on some topics and find out what are the real conditions, and find out it more empirically and more differentiated, so it has more information for the target group of such surveys. But again, I think very well structured. Thank you.
Спасибо большое всем студентам за прекрасные презентации, насыщенные. А сейчас объявляется небольшая кофе-пауза, и после этого будет у нас презентация Виктории Капелидзе с Национального агентства по туризму, администрации, извините, и подведение итогов, и также еще раз распределение по на завтра. Invite everyone to the lunch break, and then we'll have the presentation of Victoria Kapelidze, and talk much, so I know that you're all tired. I just wanted to do this presentation because today we have talked about a lot of negative aspects in tourism industry. So I want to make kind of conclusion presentation about positive aspects of tourism in Georgia in general. So, and also, yeah, I would like to ask all of my colleagues from Georgia, so if you have any kind of questions before starting any kind of research or any kind of issue in tourism industry, please contact us. Maybe we do have already this information and you don't know that, so please contact us and we will be very happy to help. Okay, so let's start with the presentation. So what makes Georgia unique? And why do people travel in general? Can you go to the next slide? This is Well, Georgia is, first of all, about the location. Georgia is a small country, and basically it's located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. And it have a really good cultural heritage. Here you can see that Georgia is one of the safest destinations in Europe. Ranked 8th in the top of 10 safest countries in the world. This is Georgia Lifestyle 2014. According to the World Economic Forum Competitiveness Index 2014-2015, Georgia ranked as the 23rd of 144 countries, something like that. Reasons to visit Georgia. So, all of you who have been to Georgia, you probably know, but I will repeat. Reasons to visit Georgia. It's first of all cradle wine. Wine has been produced in Georgia for about 8,000 years ago. Georgia has its unique culture, alphabet, and cuisine. Beautiful UNESCO sites, heritage sites, one of which is actually the highest settlement in Europe. Georgia is also home to the first European civilization. You can see the photo there. And of course, you can enjoy the great flora and fauna and resources that Georgia can offer to you. Food and wine. Georgia is considered to be the first place. Next slide, please. Yeah, first place of wine. Wine has been produced in the country over 8,000 years ago, and BBC called Georgia the world's longest running unbroken wine tradition having country. Furthermore, the Georgian way of winemaking in clay pots called paevri belongs to UNESCO Intangible Heritage. Of course, it's difficult to enjoy wine without cuisine, Georgian cuisine. Slide 6, that's right. Georgian culture. You may not know, Georgian alphabet is among the 14 unique alphabets known to the world. Georgian polyphonic music is a masterpiece of the world's cultural heritage. Next slide. This is review from CNN. So, Tbilisi, the capital city of Georgia. Batumi. I won't talk about the town. So, next slide. We have three main winter resorts. It's Gudauri, Mestia, and Bakuriani. This is what Georgian adventure tourism can offer to the tourists. You can go, you can go hiking, trekking, biking, hunting, horse riding, and so on. Yeah, bird watching. Next slide. It's tourism resources. So Georgia has 103 resorts and 182 resort areas. 10 national parks, 14 natural monuments, 2,400 springs of mineral water, and 1,200 historic and cultural monuments. Georgian tourism. With this, Georgia was named the 25th on the New York Times list of 52 places to go in 2015. Draft guides went even farther by putting it fifth among the top 10 countries to visit. Travel and Leisure named it among the best adventure travel destinations. So this is what we are proud of in Georgia. Hotels and infrastructure. So here you can see the brand hotels that have been built in Georgia recently. It's Radisson, Holiday Inn, Hilton, and soon Kempinski also will be built in Intercontinental. Next slide. Easily accessible destinations. So we have 22 direct flights to these countries on this flight, and 25 airlines operate in Georgia. So this is statistics of international travelers. I just got today the new statistics for 8 months of 2015, and I will tell you about later. Georgia had around 5.5 million visitors in 2014 and maintained 2% growth in the annual result compared to 2013. As you can see from the statistics that our neighboring countries account for most of our visitors, Turkey being number 1, followed by Azerbaijan and Armenia. The peak season is from June to September. Next slide. International tourist visits. According to the data in 2014, the visits from international tourists amounted to about 1.8 billion. Tourism accounts for roughly 6% of the country's GDP. And here are the main events that already has been held in Georgia this year that we are really excited and proud. And that brought us a lot of new tourists and visitors this year. I couldn't put this in the presentation as I got this information only today. So here I have the statistics for the cruise tourism. We have decrease in that sphere, unfortunately. It's compared to the last year, we had only 5 cruise vessels this year. And regarding visitors, we have 5.9% growth. So compared to the last year, for the same period, we had this year we have 3,922,376 visitors. So this is really good news. And for the conclusion of my presentation, I would like to show you, because some of the people asked me if we have any kind of promotional clips about Georgia. Of course we do have, and you can visit our website, gnta.g or georgia.travel, and you can find all kinds of information about Georgian tourism. And I will just show you one of our promotional clips. And that's it.
When you come to Georgia and take a fresh start, it's like being born all over again. Remember how it was to be yourself, wild and free. And now your memories are frozen frames that last nothing but a split second. When you travel in Georgia, every moment counts. Every night is a ride. Every road is a journey, with answers and questions lying ahead. You're exposed and changed, and with every step you wonder if it will ever be the same. Your heart, your mind, the way you think, it starts here to a different heartbeat, to an unfamiliar tune, when you can finally say, I know it. This is life.
I have one question and one short statement. First question about safety. You opened your presentation showing that Georgia is one of the safest countries in the world. My question is, Is this according to car traffic as well?
According to what?
Car traffic, going by cars through the country.
Well, it is, of course, it includes, safety includes that, of course. You mean people drive really fast in Georgia?
So this was my impression.
I thought that you thought about traveling between the countries by car.
No. Inside the country, just the domestic traffic.
You are right. I'm afraid that's also.
Another remark. I don't have any solution for this. I know you are doing really a lot for tourism marketing for Georgia.
Yeah.
Of course, Georgia is a small country. If I think about the awareness of people on the street in Germany, so especially western part of Germany, this might be different in Eastern Germany because of their history and in the new European countries. But in the old Western European countries, there is still an awareness, so Georgia somewhere belongs to Russia, so still it's in the mind the old Soviet Union, and they do not differentiate. I think only in the last year people in Germany has learned that there is a difference between Ukraine and Russia. So before they didn't have this difference in their brain. And I think this is a real big challenge. And so I think about the recommendation from our colleague from EURAC, Bozen, who has recommended, so if we are talking about cruise tourism in the Black Sea region, we should consider about an idea on the Black Sea. I don't have a solution for this, but if there is a joint idea, and this idea differentiates between the countries around the Black Sea. Of course, Russia belongs to them as well, but makes a difference to Russia. This would be very helpful for international marketing of Georgian tourism.
You are right. We come across that problem very often in different countries because, as you said, Georgia is a small country and it is kind of difficult after Soviet Union to be,
Even our oldest wars was not.
Even this is not in the brain.
Well, we're trying to improve that situation. We are having a lot of press and info tours from many different countries, from Europe as well, and we are attending a lot of exhibitions, tourism exhibitions. So we are kind of, dealing with that problem, and I hope in a couple of years everybody will know that Georgia is a country and it's not Russia.
So probably you are right, it can be only solved by time.
Yeah, probably.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Роман Амбуладзе хотел вам поделиться информацией.
В общем, я не собирался выступить сегодня еще раз. Я еще хочу, чтобы в первую очередь поблагодарить всем студентам, которые выступали здесь. И очень хорошо, что госпожа Виктория тоже выступила. И никак не могу согласиться с ним, что выступление наших студентов и работы, которые они представили, имела цель, чтобы в негативном контексте представить. Ни в коем случае. Это исследование, одно маленькое направление наших летних школ, проблемы и реальность, которые представили студенты, это их видение. И раз они и патриоты, и переживают за все, наверное, поэтому представили все это. Я думаю, что в этом контексте мы можем видеть то, что есть, и гордиться с тем, что вы представили, и видеть те моменты, которые надо исправить. А такие существуют.
Я не говорила, что это неправда. Я просто хотела сказать
Спасибо вам, спасибо. Дай Бог, чтобы у нас то было как можно больше позитивных. Спасибо вам, Елена.
So dear colleagues, dear students, let me make some final comments on. Okay, let me make some final comments on the things we saw and heard in the student presentations. I have structured my comments a little bit concerning the research process. Concerning market research, this is a thing I think we saw and heard today mainly. Market research in tourism domains, of course. And my remarks are a mixture of showing you some questions, some topics you have to consider when you are planning this kind of research. And also I have some comments about what we saw today, and maybe my colleagues here in the front can supplement my remarks too if you think this is necessary. Okay. The process starts, I give here now an overview, and it starts with goal definition and problem formulation. Then comes the orientation concerning the research object, the state of the art of the literature. Then you have to determine your research strategy, and focusing and sharpening your research goals and questions, and so on. These are the steps I think I found also in the literature and the methodological literature concerning market research. And now in the next slides I want to differentiate a little bit the steps here I have listed. The first step is goal definition and problem formulation. And these are the core questions of research planning here in this process. So you have to ask yourself, what is the goal of the study? Which problems should be analyzed? Or is there touristic potential concerning a region, a city or location? Most of the time we heard some statements concerning goal formulation or problem formulation. But here already you have to see in which direction your research is going. Is it rather a descriptive research question you have here, trying to describe more precisely, more systematically something like customer satisfaction, or do you want to explain maybe causes of a problem you identified? And in that way you have to state your goals and your problem definition or description. In the next step, next slide please, you should look if there are already other studies concerning this topic. Look in the literature and make researches if there is already a study that is comparable or similar, even in other touristic domains or other research domains. This can help you a lot because it can help you to make concise decisions concerning your research strategy, and it can help to differentiate your questions and your research goals. So this is pretty important, I think, for the planning of your research. And also, and these the two first questions I stated here, I did not really find in most of the presentations we have seen. So only a few. There were some exceptions, but most of them just state problem formulation or goals, which come from the practice, and I didn't find any references to other research literature. But I think if you want to work professional in this area, you should do this, doing market research in this context. And the third question, though, most of you go back. Most of you considered, and you were looking where are information sources to get an orientation about the research object or the topic. And so such information sources, it's not written right here on the, doesn't matter, I think. It comes from internet or from experts, so there's a wide spectrum of information sources you can use. In the next slide, you have to make decisions concerning your research strategy, as I mentioned already. Is it a more descriptive research strategy? And this are the presentations and the projects we heard about today. They are mostly descriptive, so you want to describe some phenomenon in the touristic domains, like customer satisfaction, or what kind of problems are there in concerning infrastructure, and so on. And we saw also explorative research strategies, which are pretty open and are looking more broad and open. Is there a potential maybe for touristic industry in the region and something like that? More seldom and more difficult are explanative research strategies, where you try to find the correlations between some variables. For example, here identify and examine the causes of customer satisfaction. This needs a different research strategy, not only raising data to describe phenomenon, but you have to state hypothesis or concise questions. On this basis, then you can plan your research strategy. In the next step, you should focus and sharpen your research goals and questions. This is especially necessary on the background of the literature and the state of the art you read. I think most of the time you can detail much more than your research questions and your goals, because you have a much better information background on the topics you want to try to examine. And we saw today only few examples which did this step, but I think this is important to make it more clear, to make it more concise what you want to research. In the next step, you have to determine how you want to gather your data, you raise your data. We heard very many things about that here today. I think here the projects are on a good way, and they are already a little bit sensible concerning what kind of data gathering method is fitting to the research question. Most of the time we saw interview techniques, questionnaire, seldom observations, but you have to consider there are other research methods to gather data, like panel studies, where you raise your data not only at one point of time, but after a year and this third year and again, the same type of questionnaire is raised, and so you can get a timeline how things develop in a certain domain. This is an interesting research strategy or data gathering method too. Or experiments are important too, because this is the only method to really say these are the causes of some effects you observe in a domain. And when you determine these or choose a data gathering method, you have to consider also quality criteria of such methods, like objectiveness, reliability, and validity. Maybe these are new vocabularies to you, but they are pretty important in this field, because you have to make sure that your rating methods are really objective, reliable, and valid, or you have to say something about that. Yes, I define.
Just one very short remark, because it's very, it's I think the right moment. All these subjects presented now by Professor Schaper might be subjects of study visits for the teachers at European universities. So maybe you think about whether or which of those subjects might be interesting and valuable for you, and provide us this information, please.
Okay, thank you.
Perhaps some courses, advanced courses, or the postgraduate courses in research methods and techniques might be appropriate in this program.
Yeah, so for the teachers, I think we are able to prepare such a program.
Yes, I think that it's a good thing to know for the colleagues.
We can offer this two-day workshop easily.
Very good. Okay. Let me say something about these quality criteria. Objectiveness is the kind of the level of independence, how you raise the data. This is very close connected with the standardization of raising the data. If all the conditions when you raise data hold similar, then you can say that this is an objective kind of situation to raise these data. Or reliability means if these data can be observed not only at point 1 but also at another point of measurement. And validity is are statements about is that what you measure really valid for that what you want to measure. So when you want to say something about cognitive abilities, do the test you apply really measures cognitive abilities or just anything else? So that this is the topic of validity. And these are very important quality criteria of those methods, not only in psychology but also in all concerning all methods in market research too. Next slide. Determination of research sample. This is a topic I think we heard about only a little bit. So concerning this point, you have to get much more knowledgeable and sensitive. Because the kind of sample you raise or choose is very important concerning what kind of statements you can derive from that and how you can generalize or if also you can generalize your statements or results. So first question here is what is the target group of research? Are there certain persons with certain characteristics, especially experts you have to choose very carefully concerning those characteristics you first have to define? Or is it a kind of behavior you want to observe? And then here also you have to see in what kind of situations such behavior is shown and so on. And another point is which requirements do I have concerning the sample, especially concerning representativeness. This is an important criteria concerning if you are able to generalize statements or not. If your sample is not representative, if there are much more males than women in the sample, or the age distribution is somehow biased, then you have a problem concerning generalization of the results. But there are also other requirements you have to consider concerning maybe the size of the sample when you want to apply some statistical methods like variance analysis, t-tests or something like that, or correlational analysis. You have to keep in mind that you have a certain size of sample when you want to compute such statistics. Or you have to consider a certain experience of the sample. Another point here is how can I get access to the sample persons? Do you want to ask them in the service context or the visiting context or outside? And what is the best opportunity to ask them? Or what kind of strategy to compose the sample is fitting here? Concerning the representativeness, you can choose different strategies, like maybe you want to ask the whole population. Sometimes in companies this is the case, when you want to know how they appreciate the culture or how they are satisfied with their work. You can ask the whole employees of the company. In other cases, you don't have access to the whole population, especially in tourist context. You have to choose samples, mostly random samples. But these random samples mostly have to, you have to consider how you can assure that they are representative. So then you have to stratify this sample. So concerning gender or age distribution and things like that. Okay, in the next step, And these kinds of things I didn't really see in the presentations today. In the next step, you have to consider the design of the data gathering or raising method. There are rules, for instance, concerning formulating items or questions. What kind of language? How can you assure that the comprehensibility is given for a certain population, and what things you have to consider so that the items are unambiguous. There are also lots of rules that you have to consider in this context. I can go into detail here, but this is important in this case. Also, what kind of answering roles to fit to my items. We saw different cases here, yes and no answer, possibilities, multiple choice, rating scales. It depends on your items and on what you want, how you want to compute your results, what kind of answering scales are apt in this context. And don't forget, you have to instruct your participants, and either with a text or by telling them. And here there are also some standards you have to consider in this case. And these kind of things somehow, or in most cases, I could see that the items were formulated pretty good. The answering scales did fit. We didn't see much about instructions, mainly because of time, but these are important things in this case. The next slide. Then you have to conduct the data raising. And here again you have to answer the questions, how can I get access to my sample and full size or needed size of samples. So you sometimes have to think of incentives, how you can get access. This might help, but in some cases this is not really good because it might bias the answers of the participants. So we have to consider these things. Also, the kind of framework conditions under which you raise the data have to be considered, especially concerning the requirements of standardization. So, is each situation you raise the data with a certain participant comparable to another? Or how much can they deviate? What kind of disturbances can be accepted or not? And does the participant need a situation where he can undisturbed write down his answers? Most of the time this is important because otherwise you can't answer really reliable. And the next slide. When you have raised the data, in the next step you have to consider, and not only at this point but even earlier, what kind of analysis strategy you can choose. There are descriptive statistics you need in most of the cases, and we saw lots of kinds of descriptive examinations of the data. But there are also questions sometimes if you have to aggregate the data. So we saw it maybe concerning the customer satisfaction. Here the 4 questions concerning some aspects could be aggregated to a variable. What contains more precise information about a variable, And you can do that only when you prove or examine the internal consistency of those scales. In other cases, if you want to answer more correlational approaches, you also have to examine the dimensionality of the questionnaire data, making factor analysis. Maybe you heard already about that. I can go into detail concerning this. Or in other cases, you want to analyze correlations between variables, and then you have to think about what kind of correlation statistic is here really apt, cross tables, or other kinds of correlational indices. Or examine the differences between data or groups. If they are significant, that means if the difference is not only given by random, but if there is a chance that it's a real and significant difference, there are also inference statistical techniques which can examine this kind of quality. And there are also other analysis strategies where you can identify and describe types of behaviors or customers, like cluster analysis and that stuff. And these are more progressive states of using these statistical techniques. We can give you a little bit insight in those these techniques if you want. Okay, next slide. Concerning the presentation of research results, before you make slides and produce graphs and something like that, you have to think about who are your recipients of the results. Are they other scientists, colleagues, or are they people from the practice? And if the last case is given, you have to use much more comprehensible and easy statistics, not complicated statistics, so they can follow your arguments and your presentations. How should I structure my research report? I think we saw that on the presentation pretty good already. We made feedbacks on that in July, and I think most of them considered these aspects pretty good. First, saying something about the goals, the problem formulation, then stating your research question, and so on, methodology and this kind of things. So how you plan your research, this has to be documented also in the research report, I think. And also in one of the last chapters, you have to also say something about the shortcomings of your research design. So concerning maybe the representativeness of your sample, you have to say how representative the sample really is or not is, so you better can interpret your results concerning these aspects. So sometimes you have to be much more sensitive to these things. And last slide. Conclusions and recommendations. We saw that in the most presentations, but you really have to ask yourself, what can I really conclude from my data and from my results? So don't make conclusions which are not really based on your observations, on your results. This doesn't make sense for the recipients if you don't do that. Yes? That's, I think, an important point. And also the recommendations that you are deriving should also be based on your results and your conclusions. So this has to be really consistent and logically placed. Okay, these are, I hope, a little summary and things further things you have to consider when planning such research project. And I hope we can go in detail when colleagues or students are coming to the partners in the EU. Thank you. Comments and
I realize that research sounds like a very, very difficult, complicated topic. Market research, validity, relevance. So I thought I'd try and simplify this a bit because I know that everybody's tired. So I will say what Niklas said in 6 questions, if I may. It's okay?
Yes.
It's okay. Very good. So, this is research. Okay? Can you all see this?
Yeah.
So it's basically asking those questions. First of all, so what? Why am I doing this? So what? The German, no. Did something happen that I did this? Does anybody care? Second question is, for what? That's the point about scoping the research. Finding out what we're doing exactly. Don't make universal theories. Don't look at tourism. Look at specific things. For what exactly? With what? The big issue, what Niklas has been very good at explaining, is there are different tools. And you need to be, you know, that research is not something you learn from books. You learn by doing. It's what do you call it? It's like a manual work. You know, you need to practice and practice and practice, and you get better. The tools. Once you've done all this, now what? Meaning, what do I do with this? For whom do I do this? What comes out of this? And what action can I take? So whenever you do a piece of research, whatever it is, if it's marketing research, if it's academic research or whatever, make sure you ask, so what? For what? With what? Now what? And for whom? That's it basically. Keep on, and if you cannot answer those questions, you have a problem. If you don't answer this question, you know what's going to happen to your survey? It's going to end up in a drawer. And you'll never see it again. You'll never look at it again, and nobody will care. So this is what research is. The big what. So what, now what, for what, with what, and for whom. That's it. Thanks. That's the end of research for today. So what? Who cares? That was action. That's, by the way, Sergey.
So now, after this inspiring supplement, I think we can close our session today, and I wish you a nice evening.
Спасибо всем большое за прекрасный сегодняшний день, прекрасные презентации, замечательные пожелания.
And thanks to everyone for wonderful presentation, for wonderful wishes, for wonderful evening.
Мы с вами поработали сегодня плодотворно, составили группы на воркшоп.
We worked with you really. We have a lot of different fruits of our work.
Все группы скомплектованы, все помнят, какие воркшопы записались, я надеюсь.
All the groups for the workshops are completed, and I can remember you that everyone should remember his group and his own workshop.
Хочу напомнить, что у нас в университете будет проходить только второй воркшоп, и сюда привезут всех участников на автобусе, те, кто записался на второй воркшоп.
Only the second workshop will be conducted at our university here.
Четвертый воркшоп, там, где зеленый туризм на турбазе «Чайка», будет отдельный автобус.
The workshop for the base of tourism, of green tourism Chayka, will be conducted in this base, and you will be driven by bus there.
Формироваться он будет, начиная с гостиницы «Фрегат».
It will be formed beginning with the hotel Fregat.
То есть будет 2 автобуса, но один только на турбаза «Чайка».
We will have 2 buses and the only one for the green tourist base Чайка.
Ответственный у нас Юрченко Виктор Владимирович. Не вижу его, но все знают заведующего кафедры туризма нашего.
Responsible is Юрченко Виктор Владимирович. It is the deputy of our Department of Tourism.
Все остальной второй автобус он будет развозить всех по остальным воркшопам.
The second bus will drive you to the other workshops.
И сегодняшнее еще такое небольшое объявление. Мы обещали нашим участникам, у нас сейчас будет 2 автобуса. Один автобус, если кто желает поехать в торгово-развлекательный центр на прогулку или на шопинг, мы отправим один автобус на торгово-развлекательный центр, а второй автобус будет развозить по отелям.
And now we will have 2 buses. One of them will be for the center of entertainment and shopping, and the other to home.
И еще небольшое объявление по второму воркшопу. Так как это у нас будет связано с интернет-ресурсами, с Google-компанией, прошу, пожалуйста, взять свои ноутбуки либо ноутбуки.
And the second workshop will be conducted for the topic of IT technologies. So I ask you to bring with you your notebooks, your gadgets.
Спасибо большое. Определитесь, пожалуйста, с автобусами номер 1 или номер 2.
Thank you very much. Determine the buses number 1 and number 2.